Okay, what's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to show you something absolutely insane, exactly how you guys are going to be winning buy box, how to win buy box all the time, how to automate the whole thing, how to get sales on Amazon, okay? So I made this little presentation. I'm going to break down the whole entire thing here. So pretty much what we're looking at here is this entire framework that comes to capturing sales. So first things first is what actually is the buy box, right? I mean, obviously, if you already sell on Amazon, you probably know this, but if you're completely new, you have no idea. And this video is going to be super in depth. It's also going to be breaking down every factor that goes into winning buy box and the things that actually matter. A lot of videos I see out there don't necessarily dive deep into what matters. They just talk about a bunch of random things. This is actually what matters to get your buy box, okay? Because if you're a new seller, you're definitely going to be concerned about this. But this is what the buy box is, okay? Take this product right here. This is a product, it's $45.54, and this seller right here, Nicole STR, is currently in the buy box. So this is that section. They are the one that's capturing the sales. So whenever a customer goes and purchases this product, it's being sold from this seller. So obviously you want to be in the buy box. Whoever is in the buy box is getting the sales. So you want to be in the buy box as much as humanly possible. So how do you actually get in the buy box? Well, I'm going to show you. This is exactly, these are the reasons why a lot of my students are getting so many sales and why their charts are so high is because they know exactly how to get in the buy box. They know how to win the buy box. And it's really not that complicated. It's actually super simple and very straightforward. And again, I'm going to break that down in this presentation. So as we scroll down again, I guess we need the first thing that we got to ask ourselves here is what actually gives you the buy box, right? Because obviously there could be 30 people on a listing and only one person's in the buy box in each set location, which again we'll touch on here in a sec. So what actually gives you the buy box? Well, whatever is the best experience for that customer, okay? Amazon does not they don't care about us sellers whatsoever. The only thing that they care about is the people that are shopping on the platform, right? As anyone knows, clearly they don't care about us. Nonetheless, we get to capture a bunch of their customers, make a bunch of money, so I could care less if they care about us or not. But you need to know this. They only care about the customer, so obviously whoever is giving the customer the best experience is going to be in the buy box. So this ties into three different factors here. What's actually going to be getting us the sales, right? There's the first factor, second factor, and third factor. So this is the most important thing. This is the second most important thing, and this is the least important thing. There's a couple other factors here, which we'll touch on in a second. These ones don't matter nearly as much. I don't think they matter at all, honestly. But let's go from third to the second to the first most important. So the third most important thing is your stock count. Okay, a lot of people talk about having a ton of stock. Yes, it's important to have stock, but it's not for the reason you're thinking. It is a little bit, but for the most part, it's not. So what we get with stock is actually this, right? Sellers who have more stock will have higher buy box share simply because they have more stock, so they're in stock the longest. So when you see someone up here, taking a look at the Keepa chart and seeing the buy box percentage, the most likely reason for this seller being in buy box more often is because they are just in stock for longer. So they probably have more stock. That is why they're taking up the share. Just because these sellers down here have 1% does not mean they're not getting sales. Most likely what it means here is they might only have 10 in stock. So they sold through the 10 in 2 days. So obviously they're only going to have 1% because they've only been in stock for 2 days. Whereas this seller might have been in stock for 30 days. So obviously they're going to have a much higher percentage, okay? For online arbitrage, it's different than OA. For online arbitrage, it's different than wholesale. Because for wholesale, generally, people buy pallets and pallets and pallets of products. So in those cases, people that are always in the listing with a bunch of stock, it does matter in that case for getting you more buy box because they're going to be spread out across the country more. They're going to be in every fulfillment center. So they're going to have next day delivery for all their customers. So they're going to have a higher percentage of buy box. But for us online arbitrage sellers, we're not buying pallets of products, okay? We're buying 30, 100, 200 units. It's not like we're going to be in stock the whole time. And the listings we're competing on are other OA listings. So it doesn't even matter because no one is going to be in stock for the most part like that. So that's why I don't think stock matters nearly as much as these other factors do when it comes to online arbitrage, okay? It is important. It's definitely a factor. Amazon obviously likes it when you're in stock more. But again, kind of how I mentioned, the more inventory you have, the more dispersed it is across the country. So obviously the more buy box you're going to get because you might be next day in California, in Florida, in Maryland, wherever, because you have more stock to disperse cross country. Whereas if you only have 10 units, obviously those 10 units can't be in every fulfillment center. So, but yeah, generally speaking, these people all down here, even if they have 1%, they are still selling through their stuff. They probably sold through their stuff and they're out of stock now. That's why they only have 1%. So keep that in mind. That's pretty much what we're looking at when it comes to that. So as we move on to the second most important thing, It's actually probably not what you're thinking, but it's actually your price, okay? This number one thing right here is the most important factor that comes into getting buy box. But the first, we're going to touch on this in a second. Let's get into price. How important is price for getting you buy box? Well, obviously it's super important, but it's not as important as this one. Let's take a look at this example right here. So imagine this. You have 1 day shipping and your price at $13.62, so you're checked in. Or another person has 1 day shipping, so they're also checked in and their price at $13.61. This person that has that penny difference is going to be getting priority, okay? And this is why you see so many people undercut, and this is why you always want to avoid listings that have indications of undercutting in smaller sellers typically, because they are going to be undercutting the price because they're going to be getting more buy box, right? This is obviously less important when the product sells quick because everyone's going to be getting sales, people are going back ordered. But at the end of the day, if you are priced a penny under, you are going to be getting more buy box than someone that's priced up here. I'm not trying to encourage undercutting, okay? Because this is generally what's going to happen in these situations. However, that's just the truth. Okay, if you are priced a penny under, you're going to be getting more buy box than this person. But don't panic because products sell fast. You don't need to be in buy box all the time. Okay, but you obviously want to be to capture sales, and this is going to be one of the factors that go into it. So does this promote undercutting? Absolutely, it promotes undercutting, okay? And this is why before you purchase anything, you always need to analyze the keep it chart. So yes, it's going to promote undercutting, especially if it's a slow mover. So the more velocity, the less chance of undercutting, okay? If a product sells 1,000 times a month, it's much less likely to be undercut than if a product sells 100 times a month, okay? Because everyone's selling through at that pace, so there's no reason to undercut. And I'm going to show some examples here in a second. But price is the second most important thing. So what's the most important thing? Well, the most important factor, again, I kind of touched on that here. It kind of leads back to this, but it's actually going to be your delivery, your shipping times. This is the most important factor that comes into determining how much buy box rotation you're getting. And let me give you some examples here, right? Okay, so let's just take an example. One seller has just sent their products in. It's not checked in yet, but they are on the listing and they have 1 week shipping times. Let's say they're priced at $13. I have already shipped it in, it's checked in, it's ready to be fulfilled the next day for the customer, but I'm priced at $15, so I'm priced $2 higher. I am going to be eating the buy box well over this seller because, again, it goes back to the customer experience. Amazon deems that it's more worth it to give a seller or a buyer quicker shipping and they pay a little bit more rather than waiting a week and paying a little bit less. It's just their algorithm, and every listing is completely different, and that's why you always need to analyze it and double check on the keep it chart before actually purchasing. But this is the most important thing. It's how is your products checked in, okay? If your products are checked in and you're priced competitively, you are going to be getting buy box. End of story. Okay, especially on all OA listings. And here's a good example of why this actually means more. As we can take a look here, this product sells so incredibly quick that even with, $21.99, so right now currently this buy box is at $21.99, and this is their shipping times. There's people priced lower at $20.63, but they are taking buy box. So this means that these sellers here at $20.63 probably have even further out shipping to where Amazon's algorithm gives it to this current seller. Okay, so if we even take a look here, we can see that this seller, $21.99, May 20th to 22nd, and these ones are all a little bit further out, right? May 24, 29, 24, 29. Then here is one for May 22nd, which is right on that brink, but they're priced a little bit more. So this seller is currently in the buy box, at least in my specific location, right? So where I'm at, this seller is taking that buy box. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, why is this seller priced here at $20.96 and they have, sorry, not that seller, this seller right here, they're priced a little bit cheaper at $20.64, and right, it's the same shipping times, but why is this person in the buy box? Well, at the end of the day, it's not a perfect system, and it's not always going to be like that. But generally speaking, the person that has the cheapest price, that has the quickest shipping times, is going to be in the buy box. So it has to be a happy medium of both of these. That's what's going to give you the buy box. So again, for this situation, this could also boil back to the least important factors, like maybe the seller, right? 2.5 stars. That could be a reason for that. As we come up here too, I have a couple more reasons that don't matter nearly as much is your review count, your feedback history. So if I were to guess, the reason that this seller probably is taking more buy box, again, is because they probably have better reviews. So that would be my best guess at that. Now, again, it's just Amazon's algorithm, so it could be anything. But end of the day, the most important thing is, are you checked in? You're going to be getting sales if you are. So now we got to talk a little bit about, okay, well, what is it? FBA versus FBM, right? Because this obviously factors into it. And again, this boils back to Amazon giving the customer the best experience. So you can always price higher as an FBA seller. As we see here on SellerAmp, this seller is currently in buy box. They're priced at $20.10, and we got some FBM sellers here priced lower. You can always price higher at FBA because it's going to be quicker shipping times. And at the end of the day, again, it boils down to a happy balance between the shipping times and price. And if the FBA seller is checked in, they will almost always have better shipping times, which means they're going to be winning buy box over FBM. So if you're an FBM seller, you're still going to be getting sales, especially if the product is selling really quick, but you're not going to be getting as much sales as these sellers because of the shipping times. Again, that's the most important thing. And this all boils right back down to Amazon trusts their process more than seller fulfilled, right? So they trust anyone in FBA more than FBM because they're the ones that are going to be fulfilling it to the customer. So it all boils down to the best experience for the customer in their eyes. Now, again, back to the priority here. Shipping, the most important thing. Then it's your price, then it's your stock, then I guess a little bit of reviews and your history. But this is the most important thing that you need to be paying attention to, which is why I stress do FBA, scale your operation with FBA. Don't be focused on FBM. Do this. Don't panic until all your products are checked in. Once they are checked in, that's when you want to be pricing your products competitively and trying to get buy box. Okay? So it has to be a happy medium of all of these, okay? Do these to get buy box. This is what you need to do to get buy box, okay? Wait for your inventory to check in, like I just mentioned. Don't be panicking that you're not getting sales if you just send your product in. Its chances are your shipping times are a couple weeks out to a month. So once you've actually waited for your inventory to check in, which again, you can actually see on your dashboard, which I'll show you here in a second. After it's checked in, price competitively, okay? Preferably use a repricer, okay? Make sure you're using a repricer if you're not already doing that. And if you're pricing competitively and you're checked in, then try and stock up for 1 to 2 months, okay? This is the last thing you want to do. Try and keep stock. But these two things, if you're doing these and you're doing an OA product, you're going to be flying through your inventory. And at that point, you obviously want to be in stock longer. You're going to be getting even more sales as you're more spread out. And that's essentially how you're going to scale this operation with the products you're currently carrying, okay? Do these and you will get buy box. And again, kind of how I mentioned here, waiting for your inventory to check in. How do you actually know it's checked in? Well, if you go to your Amazon Seller Central dashboard and you go to your FBA inventory, make sure you go to FBA inventory and you click available, you can actually see it check in. Okay, and then once it checks in, you can go to that Amazon listing you're selling on and just take a look at your shipping times. You know, once it's prime here, it's generally checked in. Now, what I will say is if it checks in that day, it still might take 1 to 3 days to fully situate. So you might come to the listing and see it's 3 days out, but it's still prime eligible. And then maybe in 48 hours, you go back to that listing and then it's available same day or next day. And that's when you're really going to be capturing buy box. But again, that's if the product is moving relatively slower, the volume's less there. Now, if the product is flying and everyone's just selling through their products, I mean, you're going to fly through your inventory even before you hit buy box. You're still going to be getting rotation because everyone's going to be back ordered. So you'll eventually hit it. So do these 3 things and you're going to get buy box, right? Your product's checked in, you're pricing competitively, and obviously price competitively with the competitors based on the current buy box or a recent trend. All right, so make sure you're checking the Keepa chart, seeing the pink line, and seeing how it's moving. If there's lots of peaks going up and down like this, always price at that high point. And this is if you're manually pricing, right? You should be automating your pricing because Aura or a repricer, whatever you decide to use, is going to automatically do that for you. So you always want to be doing that. But it all boils down to this, right? The more stock you have, the more spread out across the FCs, the more buy box. And the more buy box percentage increases, again, because you're on the listing for longer, that's the most important thing. That's why people have or are dominating the buy box percentage on Keepa is because they're just in stock longer. It's going to lead to more sales, obviously, because you have more in stock and everything sells on Amazon. So that's not going to be an issue. Okay, so do these things and you're going to be getting buy box. Now, I want to show a couple of different red flags and green flags here too to look out for. So real quick, let's show some green flags. When you're analyzing a chart and you're reading the Keepa, whenever you see even rotation like this looks good. But again, even when I showed earlier with that one star 22%, that still looks fine, okay? Just make sure that not one seller is dominating. And I'll show you an example of what that can look like here. All right, also, if Amazon is on the listing, make sure they are sharing the buy box. So here's an example. Amazon is clearly dominating here at 96%. You would think that you're not going to get buy box. But then again, you check out the actual product itself, and it sells 11,000 times a month. You are probably going to get some sales. Now, obviously, it's not guaranteed, and this is why you always want to do some test orders here. But if you order 10 of these, there's absolutely no reason why you're not going to be getting some rotation here just because the sheer volume on this listing. Now, if this listing sold 50 times a month, 100 times a month, then do not. Okay, this is a red flag. But since the volume checks out, then there's a lot more room to go around for more people to sell. Now, again, here's another green flag. Amazon isn't matching the lowest FBA offer. So as we see here in this chart, we can see that Amazon's in the listing and they're not undercutting and they're not trying to match the lowest FBA. So these FBA sellers here are capturing a ton of sales because they're priced under Amazon. Amazon's just priced over, and clearly the buy box is going to these sellers because that's what the pink line indicates. Now, what are some red flags? Well, again, piggybacking off of this, if we see Amazon actually continuously match the buy box, right, these pink line, the sellers, then that's a red flag. Okay, they are just going to keep undercutting and keep matching the price and stealing all the buy box, right? Amazon adjusting the price based on the lowest price. You don't want to be messing with listings that look like that. It's a red flag. And again, here's another red flag. One seller with 80% buy box, right? This listing 90% on this one seller. Now again, this, you can still capture sales here. Clearly these other sellers are capturing sales, but back to what I said earlier in the green flag, you just want to make sure that the product is selling. So if this product's selling 10K, 20K, 30K times a month, you're still going to be capturing some sales there. It's absolutely feasible to go in there with a test order. And again, back to something like this, with this listing, if you see Amazon on the listing, it can be a red flag again, unless it looks like this and unless it sells really quick, just like this listing. So we'd have to double check on this listing and make sure that it is actually selling quick. And if it is, you know, we can definitely come in here and capture some sales like some of these sellers have. But again, you want to be doing test buys, and it's the same scenario, right? The risk depends on the product volume. End of the day, okay, the quicker the product's selling, the less risky it is. Always, the less volume, the more risky it is. Anything under 100 units is very slow, and that's a lot risky, you know, way more risky, especially if the rotation looks like this. However, if there's a couple thousand sales just like this one, where is it? Right here. Less risky. There's no reason you can't sell through some units. And you always want to do tests to see how many you can actually sell to get a full sense of it. So here's your solution to the whole entire thing, right? I kind of mentioned it already, but if you want to automate this whole thing and make your life 1,000 times easier as you begin to scale, all you need to do is you reprice your inventory. I prefer Aura. Okay, that's one I use. I'm going to link a code down below that'll get you 2 weeks of Aura for free. You don't need to put a payment card on file. If you already have some products in your store and you want to test it out, try this software. I guarantee you it's going to boost your sales, especially if you have a lot of products. Okay, this is going to optimize your price based on shipping and price. So it does it for you. You don't have to guess. It's just going to do everything for you. Just like this example right here. I guarantee the seller is probably doing something with a repricer where they, or maybe they're just manually doing it. Either way, it's going to price your products higher than the lowest. It's not going to price at the lowest price here because it knows it can capture sales higher. So it's constantly changing its price to get you the most amount of sales at the highest possible price. The fee for this is well worth it if you decide to use it, obviously. You're going to boost your sales like crazy. So keep all these things in mind when you're actually going ahead and, you know, pricing your products. If you're brand new and you don't know how to win buy box, rewatch this video, go through everything, right? Just know this. Delivery is important, so do FBA. Price is important. Price competitively. Do not buy anything that's not profitable at the current buy box at your percentages. Don't be buying things that are more expensive. Don't expect to sell products for way more than what the current price is unless, again, the volume is there. This is a lot of testing here, especially if you're brand new. And again, stock is the least important thing, especially when it comes to OA. When you get into wholesale, it's a different story. But for OA products, this is not nearly as important as these two factors right here. Now, these are the kind of things you're not going to be finding in a regular video, okay? I know it was very technical. It was not very flashy. So by all means, watch this video as many times as you need to get a full understanding of what it actually takes to win the buy box and get sales on Amazon. But this is the kind of information you can expect from me. So make sure you follow the YouTube page, see more videos on everything you need to know about starting an Amazon business, scaling an Amazon business. Fair warning, starting this business takes a lot of work, takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, okay? Don't be gullible. Anyways, I filmed a 40-minute course about a month ago. I'm gonna link it down below. It's on YouTube, but it is private, so you can only access it through that link. I also made another video about 3 weeks ago that walked through my entire first year on Amazon, how I found stuff, exactly the systems I implemented, and I want you to check that one out too if you're really interested in starting this, because that'll take you through the whole process. And if it's something that you relate to and something you want to also, you know, build out for yourself and you want to implement it the first time so you don't make any mistakes and you just want it pretty much done with you, there's another link down below. It's a Calendly link. Booking a slot with myself. As long as you have capital, time, and you're ready to actually fully invest in this business, then I know for a fact we can build you something very similar to that. The only way this is not going to work out is if you stop halfway through and just give up, which, fair warning, this is going to take effort on your end either way. But if you want to hear more about it, then that link is below. And that's it for this one. Ciao.